I want to talk about this image here. It's from a metal printing plate for Facsimile 3 of the Book of Abraham, but I want to be clear on what it is we're seeing. The head is of figure 6 of the facsimile, but the printing plate shows something which is not on the facsimile, and I'm highlighting in red what I'm referring to, which is what a respected scholar recently described to me as a sharp cut, which would seem to indicate that the shape was thought out by someone, so we're not just imagining a snout. However, this evidence does not actually tell us that a printable snout was once on either the metal plate or on the woodcut. And in fact, the objective evidence which I'm going to present challenges that assumption. I realize this raises other questions, and I discuss my theory on what happened in regards to those other questions in the link in the video description. But this image actually shows a section of the Facsimile 2 printing plate. Let's take a closer look at it because I want to point out a couple things. First, we can see what remains of some teeth marks within the grooves. A mold was made, and then this metal printing plate was produced from the mold. Amazingly, these fine details are preserved in the process. The second thing I want to point out is that these groove marks were at some point damaged, which means that when they were first made, the groove marks extended beyond this red line. The third thing I want to point out is that we can get an idea of how wide the tool was which produced these teeth marks by comparing one set of groove marks with the other. If we copy from the bottom and interpose it on the top, we can see how well they align, and we have an approximate idea of how wide the tool was. Now let's go ahead and turn our attention back to Facsimile 3, but in a little different out-of-the-way section there, we can see the same sort of match as we saw with Facsimile 2. Of course, if we took the same tool and it was going the opposite direction, then the groove marks would be reversed. So to use this sample on other areas to compare with other areas of the printing plate, it can be moved or flipped however is necessary. Now let's take a look again at the figure 6 area. In a few spots we can see groove marks like this area right here, for instance, and we can take our sample from the other area of the printing plate and just flip the sample horizontally, and we can see the groove marks line up, which tells us the vertical lines we see going all the way down to the sharp cut are real. It also tells us that the tool whose teeth left these groove marks was wide enough that the groove marks had to start somewhere below that sharp cut. There could not have been an Anubis snout there. So not only that, but the shape is not the shape of Anubis, but is instead a generic dog snout shape, which is very different than the way Anubis has ever been depicted in any actual Egyptian art. It would be the only instance ever where the snout does not go straight out from the face. Of course, it would be reasonable to ask where the idea for a snout came from, but I think the question of where depends on the question of when, because a vignette is not the only way someone could have gotten the idea, and no ancient Egyptian vignette would have depicted a snout shaped like that on Anubis. So we need to be open-minded as we look at some possibilities. And again, if you would like to learn more about my theory on what happened, you can click the link in my video description. It just goes to my blog. Thank you.